The coffee they just served you might have been brewed with water from a tank that hasn't been cleaned in days. The cold air blasting through the cabin? It's not a glitch. It's a quiet strategy to keep passengers from fainting. And that whole turn off your phone or you'll crash the plane thing? Yeah, not exactly how it works. Turns out, a lot of what we experience on planes, what we're told, what we assume, and what we never even question, has a story behind it. And some of those stories? Flight attendants know them, but they'll never say them out loud. So in this video, we're unpacking 15 hidden truths about flying, from the mildly gross to the surprisingly clever that most passengers never find out, until now. Let's get into it. Turns out, it's not random at all. You've just overheard the crew's secret language. Those dings you hear throughout the flight, they're short signals sent between the cockpit and cabin crew, coded, efficient, and designed to keep passengers calm by keeping us out of the loop. One ding might mean someone pressed the call button. 2 dings, the plane just passed 10,000 feet, time to move about the cabin. But 3 or more, that could mean turbulence ahead, a medical situation, or a subtle call for the lead flight attendant. No public announcement, no flashing lights, just a quiet cue to get ready. One flight attendant even called it Morse code for the sky. Every airline has its own pattern, but once you start noticing it, you'll never unhear it. So next time the cabin goes ding 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 and no one says a word, you'll know it's not just noise. It's a quiet heads up, meant for the crew, but yours to decode. That coffee? Brewed with water that fails EPA tests more often than you'd think. You're mid-flight, feeling groggy. The cart rolls up and the flight attendant asks that familiar question. Coffee? Tea? It sounds cozy, comforting. The perfect little pick-me-up at 35,000 feet. But what if I told you that warm drink might be brewed with water you wouldn't even wash your hands with? Here's the part most passengers never hear. Airplane coffee and tea aren't made with bottled water. They're made with water from the plane's onboard tank. And those tanks, let's just say, they have a reputation. According to multiple EPA studies, many aircraft water systems have tested positive for bacteria, including coliform. That's the kind of stuff that makes you think twice about sipping anything hot. And flight attendants? They know. That's why so many bring their own tea bags or skip hot drinks altogether. One crew member even called the tank water the thing no one talks about but no one drinks. Worse, those tanks aren't cleaned between flights. Sometimes not even between days. So, unless you're on a top-tier airline that specifically uses bottled water for hot beverages, there's a chance your tea was made with whatever's been stewing in that tank all week. So next time the cart rolls by, maybe grab a sealed ginger ale. Or bring your own coffee. Just don't ask them to heat it. Look around the next time you board a plane, especially near the wings. You might notice small red or black triangles above certain windows. Most passengers don't even glance at them. But to the crew, they're quiet lifesavers. Those markers aren't random. They point to the best spots for flight attendants to check the wings from inside the cabin. In the event of smoke, fire, ice buildup, or any unusual sound mid-flight, that window gives them a direct line of sight to the engines, flaps, or fuel lines, without having to guess or shuffle down the aisle. It's quick, precise, and during an emergency, it saves precious seconds. They're also useful for passengers. If you're sitting under one of those triangles and spot something unusual on the wing, smoke, damage, or a loose panel, you're in the perfect spot to alert the crew. Airlines don't mention these markers in safety demos because they're designed for internal use, but once you know what they're for, you can't unsee them. They're one more example of how much thought goes into aircraft design, right down to a tiny triangle above your seat. So next time you fly, look up. You might just be sitting in the cabin's unofficial observation deck. Ever snuggled up with a stranger's sneeze? You might have, without knowing it. It looks fresh, smells fine, feels clean enough. But here's the part they don't tell you. It might have just flown across the country, wrapped around someone else. Unless you're flying with a high-end airline that swaps blankets after every single flight, what you're holding was likely used earlier, given a quick inspection, folded tight, and rebagged like nothing happened. Some airlines only launder once a day, others, less. And if the blanket looks unused, back into plastic it goes. A friend of mine once unwrapped one, found lipstick on the corner, and still used it. He said it's fine, it's probably from the last flight. Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Flight attendants know this. One even admitted they've seen blankets with drool stains get a quick flip, not a wash. So if the last passenger sneezed into it, wiped their mouth after a soggy in-flight sandwich, or sweat through a red-eye nap, congratulations, you just got a front-row cuddle. The better move? Bring your own. A lightweight scarf, a travel blanket, or just a hoodie you trust. Because staying warm is great. But staying warm without sharing someone else's cold? Even better. It's where everyone stuffs their gum wrappers, wipes, half-eaten snacks, and where you're about to drop your phone. Flight attendants have called it the nastiest spot on the whole plane. Why? Because unlike tray tables or bathrooms, seatback pockets rarely get more than a quick glance between flights. And what's been found in there? Used tissues, dirty diapers, moldy food. One even had a bag of toenail clippings. Let that sink in for a second. So if you're slipping your snacks, your phone, or your kids' toys in there, you're basically marinating them in a buffet of leftover bacteria from whoever sat there last. The fix is simple. Bring a small pouch or crossbody bag. Keep your essentials inside, hand sanitizer, earbuds, snacks, and stash it on your lap or in your personal item. Because that seatback pocket might be convenient, but clean? Not even close. You've heard it in every safety demo. In the event of cabin pressure loss, oxygen masks will drop from the ceiling. You nod, half listening, thinking, cool, I'll breathe into the mask and wait for things to calm down. But here's what they don't say out loud. Those masks only provide oxygen for about 12 to 15 minutes. And no, that's not a glitch. It's on purpose. At cruising altitude, the air is too thin to breathe. So if the cabin loses pressure, the pilot's job is to descend fast, controlled, not chaotic, down to 10,000 feet where you can breathe normally again. That rapid dive takes just a few minutes. And the mask? It's not there to keep you comfortable. It's there to keep you conscious. Because without it, you've got about 30 seconds before things get blurry, then dark. So if you ever see those masks drop, don't panic, don't film, don't wait. Just put it on, fast, tight, over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally, and let the pilots do what they're trained to do. Ever wonder why you're freezing mid-flight, even under 2 layers and a blanket? It's not because airlines hate comfort. It's because your body hates altitude. At 35,000 feet, oxygen levels are lower, even in a pressurized cabin. Add in warm air, a tight seat belt, and a little dehydration, and you've got the perfect recipe for someone to pass out, especially after takeoff or a heavy meal. Cooler air keeps passengers alert. It helps maintain stable blood pressure and reduces fainting risks. That's why most cabins are set around 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Not cozy, but calculated. One flight attendant put it this way: if people aren't slightly cold, someone's hitting the floor. So what can you do? Pack a hoodie or a scarf in your personal item. Something soft, easy to grab, and just warm enough to outsmart the chill. Next time your teeth are chattering at 35,000 feet, that's not discomfort. That's quiet, clinical prevention, disguised as air conditioning. Here's a fun twist most travelers never hear. The air you're breathing on a plane, it doesn't come from some hidden tank or magical onboard purifier. It actually comes from the engines, before they burn fuel. Sounds terrifying at first, but it's not. This system is called bleed air. Outside air is pulled in, compressed by the engine, then cooled and pushed into the cabin. From there, it's filtered through hospital-grade HEPA filters, removing viruses, bacteria, all the usual suspects, and replaced about 20 to 30 times per hour. That's cleaner than most office buildings, and miles better than any airport terminal you just walked through. But while the air is impressively clean, it's also bone dry. That dryness is intentional. It helps prevent corrosion in the plane's internal systems, but it's also why your skin feels like paper and your throat gets scratchy halfway through a flight. That's why hydration isn't just nice, it's necessary. Drink water before you board. Bring a reusable bottle. Sip slowly and consistently throughout the flight. Skip the soda, skip the coffee, and maybe wait on that mini wine bottle. Because yeah, you're breathing filtered air from a jet engine, but staying hydrated is what keeps you feeling human when you land. Leaning your head against the window wall might feel like a cozy choice. But here's what flight attendants won't tell you. That surface is one of the least cleaned spots on the entire plane. Shades go up and down. Hands press against it during turbulence. Passengers nap, sneeze, and drool on it, sometimes all in the same flight. And between flights, that wall rarely gets touched. Still want the view? Go for it. Just bring a travel pillow. Love the clouds. Just don't make them your pillow. Did you know your plane is struck by lightning every year? It sounds terrifying, but for commercial aircraft, it's completely normal. Most commercial aircraft get struck by lightning about once a year, and they're built for it. The plane's aluminum shell acts like a Faraday cage, so the electrical current travels along the outside of the aircraft, not through it. It usually enters at one point, flows across the surface, and exits somewhere else, without ever reaching you or the electronics inside. Pilots are trained for lightning strikes, and every aircraft that gets hit is inspected on the ground afterward. If there's even a trace of damage, it doesn't fly again until it's cleared. So while it might look dramatic from your seat, the plane's systems handle it without breaking a sweat. The Wi-Fi might flicker, the cabin lights might blink, but the flight keeps cruising like nothing happened. For the crew, it's routine. For you, just a free fireworks show. You finally squeeze past the drink cart, make it to the lav, and lock the door behind you. It's one of the few private moments on a plane, right? Well, not exactly. What most passengers don't realize is that airplane bathroom doors can be opened from the outside, even when they're locked. Right under the lavatory sign, there's usually a small latch. Flip the sign up, slide the mechanism underneath, and just like that, the door opens. Why? It's a safety feature. If someone passes out, locks themselves in, or disappears for too long, flight attendants need to be able to get in. Fast. It's not about spying, it's about having access when seconds count. But knowing that latch exists kind of changes how you use that space, doesn't it? So if you're planning to freshen up, change clothes, or record a quick selfie for your travel vlog, maybe keep it brief. No one's going to bust in without cause, but that plastic lock? Think of it more like a do not disturb sign than an actual deadbolt. On a plane, privacy is borrowed, not guaranteed. Picture this, you're cruising over the Atlantic, thousands of feet in the air, and the captain is asleep. Sounds terrifying, but it's actually protocol. It's called controlled rest, and it's a normal part of long-haul flights. Especially on international routes, pilots work in shifts. While one monitors the systems, the other is cleared to take a short scheduled nap, usually about 30 to 40 minutes, to stay sharp for landing. And on ultra-long flights, there's often a third pilot on board, specifically to rotate rest breaks and reduce fatigue. This isn't someone snoozing while no one's watching the controls. During cruise, autopilot handles most of the flight, and the resting pilot is always paired with an alert co-pilot, actively monitoring everything. Plus, there are strict procedures to ensure the resting pilot is fully awake and rebriefed before resuming control. So yes, your captain might be sleeping, but the plane's not flying itself. It's flying with a well-rested, highly trained team that knows how to stay alert when it counts. You're choosing between chicken or pasta, hoping the tray in front of you doesn't taste like cardboard. But up in the cockpit, the pilots are eating too, just not the same thing. And that's no accident. There's an actual rule, formal on some airlines, strongly encouraged on others, that the captain and first officer never eat the same meal. Not even if it's the good one. Why? Food poisoning. It's rare, sure, but it has happened. And if both pilots eat the same dish, say a fish entree that wasn't stored properly, it could take both of them out at the same time. That's not a risk airlines are willing to take. So they eat separately, sometimes from different galleys, sometimes prepared hours apart. On international flights, one might even get business class meals while the other sticks with the crew tray, just to make sure their food came from completely separate batches. It's one of those quiet protocols that passengers never notice, but it's built into the job. Because when it comes to flying a jet full of people, redundancy isn't just smart, it's essential. So the next time your in-flight meal tastes questionable, just know the pilots had a backup plan. And thankfully, you only need one of them to land the plane. You're walking onto the plane, carry-on in hand, and the flight attendant greets you with a warm smile. Hi there, welcome aboard. Feels like simple politeness. But behind that smile, there's a mental checklist in motion. Flight attendants are trained to assess every passenger the moment they step on. In just a few seconds, they're scanning for signs of intoxication, erratic behavior, visible illness, or anything that might be a safety concern once the doors close. They're also quietly noting who looks strong, calm, and capable, potentially helpful in an emergency. It's subtle. You'd never know it's happening. But to them, boarding time isn't just about getting everyone seated. It's about reading the cabin before it's airborne. So yes, that smile is genuine, but it's also doing double duty. And the next time you walk past that greeting at the door, just know you're already on their radar in the best way possible. You've heard it 100 times. Please switch your phone to airplane mode. And maybe you've wondered, will this thing really interfere with the flight? Short answer, no. Modern aircraft are shielded. Your phone won't jam the cockpit or send the plane into a tailspin. If everyone forgot to switch, nothing would actually happen. So why the rule? Because 150 phones constantly searching for signal or blaring notifications mid-flight doesn't exactly create a peaceful cabin. And not all devices behave the same. Some mess with older systems, some just annoy everyone within a 5-row radius. One flight attendant said it best, "We can handle turbulence, but we draw the line at autoplay TikToks during takeoff." Bottom line, this rule isn't about danger. It's about keeping the cabin calm, quiet, and a little more civilized. So just switch it off. Give your phone and everyone's sanity a break. Flying doesn't have to feel like a gamble, because now you know the quiet rules. You know what to skip, what to wipe down, what to bring, and where not to nap. You know that oxygen masks run out fast, window seats aren't always clean, and yes, your pilot might be sleeping mid-flight, because that's actually part of the plan. You've basically graduated from clueless traveler to the kind of passenger flight attendants silently appreciate. So if you learned something new today, or had that moment of, wait, I've definitely used that seatback pocket, hit like, and send this to a friend who always orders coffee on board. And if you've got a weird in-flight story or your own travel hack, drop it in the comments. We read them all. Subscribe for more behind-the-curtain flight tips. And next time you fly, do it with a scarf, a water bottle, and just a little more suspicion. Safe travels.